go. There we go. There's a like. Excellent. Oops. There we go. And we'll be up on Instagram in just a second.
Did you turn off the music?
Nope. Did you lose the music for a second?
Yeah, I just lost. No, it's back.
There you go. Yeah, got it. All right, chat room, we're all starting. Very exciting. All right, I need to pull up one more website. Get ready for the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. right. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. There he is, Rob Glenn, ladies and gentlemen, joining us. What's going on? How are you, good sir, this fine morning?
It's gorgeous here in Chicago.
You're just rubbing it in, aren't you?
I voted, but I haven't put it in the Dropbox yet, so it's sitting right over there.
Oh,
and later
it's very
today,
exciting.
it's going in the Dropbox.
It's my belated birthday gift. I'm so excited. I'm super excited. There's so much to cover today. By the way, everybody hit like, subscribe, etc., etc. Support the show, blah, blah, blah. Now, if I may, hold on as I put this window up here so I can look at what we're doing. One of the things we've been talking about, and I've been talking with ChatGPT about this lately, we've been having long, not that long conversations because you can only do an hour a day. with the new vocal logic, voice logic thing, you can only do an hour a day. And
Right.
so I've been kind of having mechanical and philosophical conversations with it because because there are things I can't currently do, and I don't want to crack open a piece of gear that I have and start tinkering around inside of it unless I know there's an exit ramp where I can actually not lose function in the thing. And that thing is R2D2. So, long story short,
Well, you're doing that. My light just went out.
See, yeah, you mock R2 and I shut your lights off. That's how this works. So
I'm going to be really dark today.
Yes, I have one of those toy R2D2s that responds to vocal commands. So it's got a little microphone on it. It's got the ability to respond in its, I suppose there's probably some version of an Arduino board in there or equivalent. And it's got little rotors in it that it can roll around and move its head. And it can, change direction. It can chase you, and it can do hide and seek, which is probably the best part of it. And it can dance. Those are the two fun things that it does. The rest of it's fairly useless. But it would seem to me that with a little application of ChatGPT and replacing the software that's in there with an Arduino board that hooks up to the very same rotors and the very same sensors and the very same lights, that it should be able to, you should be able to upgrade what it's capable of doing pretty quickly. It just doesn't have a port on it to do it. So I'm going to have to disassemble the damn thing to make it work, right? And I don't want to disassemble it and not be able to reassemble it. So that's where I've been kind of like trying, before I put screw one, out of the device and onto the table, I want to make sure I can, that it's not a fool's errand and I'm not just ruining a perfectly good toy. That said, right now it's just a prop. It just sits, it's almost like a little statue. So it's not like I'm really hurting anything. I can always put the cap back on, just glue it back together, and it'll still serve the same purpose right now. But I have been talking to you, and we've been talking. And by the way, everybody, welcome to Friday AI. This hour we'll be talking about like the current state of AI stuff and where we're headed. And then next hour I'll do news and that kind of stuff with you. But Rob is in Chicago. He's my nerd brother from another mother. He has a company called Root Design, and they do a myriad of things, not the least of which is being able to create user interfaces and sort of digital human interactions with material things, like either scaling things or creating environments where you can click together stuff in a virtual environment and then order a thing off of line. Like imagine... a lot of people, probably the closest thing they would use is like in IKEA. You can go, they have a virtual thing where you can have a wall and you can assemble some of the things you'd want to see what they would look like against the wall and then order those parts. It's that kind of stuff, but cooler. And so AI is a big conversation between he and I because of the changes it's going to make and how quickly those are going to come. I think people can remember when we first talked about I don't know which was the first robot we really showed on. It was probably the Boston Dynamics, Big Dog or something like that. We were talking about where that would be in a little bit. And now...
so the first one that most people were exposed to is a Roomba, actually, probably.
Right.
And because those have been out, I think, since the early 2000s.
Yes.
I remember doing a project as a designer on an early Roomba. Anyway, and then after that, I think people started to see the dogs, as you said, the Boston Dynamic dog style robot.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's
and maybe before that, you could say industrial robots. People have seen like an automotive production line with big robot arms welding and assembling and things like that.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of those things, we were looking at them and seeing video of them like, oh, that's it's cute, or it's they're building something, and yes, it's got an arm on it that can open and close a door, and it's a little bit creepy, and it makes it a little nervy for people, to watch it, but they're like, that's down the line. Okay, that's all right. This now. Let me see if I can bring this up on here. This is what we know as the Boston Dynamics dog, okay? and it has it has a bunch of attachments you can get. Well, I'll show you that in a second. That would be this. It's okay. It's the Boston Dynamics dog is now $74,000. This is June 17th of 2020 was the price of it. It is now down to whatever, I want to say 20.
Right. And to be clear, that's extremely cheap.
Yeah, for even at 74,000, that's incredibly cheap, right? So this is again, I want to see if they one of these articles I was trying to find, they have all the kind of available. There you go. This is what it comes with. This is a basic package. There's this like calibration learning screen where it can figure out. You can assign meaning to each of these things like tasks. So that if it sees this QR code, it does this. If it sees this one, it does this. This is before ChatGPT was inputted into it. That you could, let's say I wanted it to go if you want to Lone Wolf McQuade this thing and you wanted to have it go get you a beer and bring it to you, which is what the trained action star's dog does in every, 80s action movie, right? Goes and turns his head and gets the beer out for you and brings it to you. You print out a bunch of these little QR codes like that one, and you program it. That means that's the beer. That's what you're looking for. When I say go get that, when I show you this, you go get that, and you see that, you go get it, and it will go and open the fridge, and it will look for the thing that you put a sticker on it. You put a sticker like that on all your beers, and it will pick up one of those things and bring it back to you. Like that kind of thing. Okay, that was the original version of this. Still at that point, $74,000, 2 batteries, a charger, a tablet controller, so you could actually robotically control it if you wanted to. And we'll talk more about that Elon Musk Optimus puppet show the other day. A storage case, and that's basically what you would get. And that's $75K in 2020. Then there are all these little additional things on top of it, mostly sensors. So you put this thing on the top of it. It's kind of like a rotating LiDAR sensor, the kind of stuff you see on like the cars that are driving around, scanning streets and stuff. They have a bunch of these spinning things on top of them, or these kind of things that will, that have it's got a GPS thing on it, and it's got a LiDAR scanner. So it scans the terrain and just maps the whole place. So the first version of these things, they would take them and then they could send them into a cave or a facility, and it would just walk around, not bumping into shit, and just tracking where everything physically is, right? That's what those parts of the Explorer kit that would add onto it. And then eventually, and they're not anywhere near this is an older article. They weren't anywhere near the arm. Fast forward to, I'll show you this guy. Okay, so right now, because of, we've talked about Eureka, which is the NVIDIA program that allows you to test robots in a virtual environment. And because of that, everybody's able to take their stuff. And you were saying something about just like the availability of servos and gear too, making a huge advancement.
Like concentrating on NVIDIA. NVIDIA's like what I would call Eureka is a good way to visualize what NVIDIA is doing.
Yeah.
But it's not like the path that this is going through. It's a good way to just see like how, like what the vision of, like if a camera's looking at something, if you own a Tesla, or you see how the cameras are looking, and then they visualize that on the screen for what the cameras see by turning it into like a 3D environment that looks like a video game.
Right.
That's the camera looking, and then the NVIDIA chips and the software are turning what it sees in lasers and cameras into, now I'll call it like it's a polygonal environment, but it's data, like 3D data, like in a video game.
Right.
And what has made, so the key component of being able to process all that data and turn it into something that then is representative of a 3D world is kind of what you see in Eureka. And what's made all of that possible is that, but then also it's all the things that give you the inputs, like the sensors and the cameras and the servos and the motors and all that stuff. All of those things have sort of come together in this moment now, where nothing new is being made. They're just combining it into things which seem extremely magical.
Yeah, so one of the things we think about when we think about a robot is we think of a cute, useless guy like R2-D2 who's got one plug thing and he can do something, and a bipedal robot that walks around like a person. These are our two basic runs. Now, what we've become increasingly familiar with is the robot dogs. And increasingly what you're seeing is a lot of Chinese knockoffs of the Boston Dynamics one. And they're just using ChatGPT to drive the software within it because it's so easy to create that software now, and you create this virtual environment. I want to show you this thing. This is a company called LiMX or LiMX. I don't quite know how they're pronouncing it because it's kind of relatively nonsensical. But this is their. They've launched their first wheeled quadruped. This little guy right here. And this is still based on the Boston Dynamics system. There's other companies that have come out with this, and they're just making these and using the same effective software. But I want to this again fairly common for like security, delivery, that kind of stuff on a lower scale. But this thing is a version with wheels. So this is the new thing with the quadrupeds. Is that by locking their wheels, they create feet, and by moving the wheels, they can move faster. So if you'll see over here, this is the software. They put a little screen of the software in there, which is kind of like the Eureka thing that we're talking about, to show you how it figures out what's around it using its sensors and that kind of stuff. This is it going backwards down the stairs using its wheeled feet, which are now locked until it's ready to roll. So they time out with they only roll when they're free to go like this. And they, depending on the height of the slope, they can tilt their body so that it's easier for them to go up and down. So they're more efficient, right? So a higher slope, their body is more, leans forward, that kind of stuff. They deal with curbs. It just shows, this is a big test, video. This thing is currently, I think, available for like 30 grand or something like that, which it will by no means, once they're available regularly, be at that price. It's still a little bit silly, actually. I think that's if you buy one. If you buy 30, they're like $3,000 a piece, is what they're trying for. Everybody's trying to get to the front of the line. So the way they're doing that is charging an immense amount of money for the first one. But if you buy a bunch of them, they'll charge you next to nothing because they want tons of these in everybody's factory or setting. And here they are showing its ability to deal with different terrains and all kinds of stuff. And again, there are already robots delivering food in West Hollywood, California. These little buggies that we've seen around that are just basically like this thing, but with a little box on top, and it's got googly eyes in the front of it, so people don't think it's scary. And these are all the test facilities, whatever. Okay, pretty cool. We've seen the quadrupeds before. We've seen bipedal humans before, but this is the one I wanted to show Rob. Rob has not seen this next one. This is called Tron, and this is the same company. It's the Tron one, whatever. I don't know why. I'm going to call him T-Ron.
I thought it said Tron.
T-Ron. T-Ronnie. We're going to call him T-Ronnie. The first multimodal biped robot, which is not true at all. But watch this thing. I'll turn off the music too because it's silly. Okay, so this is the guy. You turn him on with a little controller and you get him set up. But he's straight up like Star Wars Walker. I mean, it is hilarious.
Yeah.
Now, what he's for at this point, they don't seem to say, other than it's basically like the dog, except you mount something on the top of his head. Here's the impressive part, is that once he's rolling, he's pretty the balance on this thing is frigging amazing. And cool. All right, he can roll around. Check this part.
Right.
He can cushion and balance himself on rolling wheels. Yeah,
that balance is it comes from all the work done in the Segway, for instance.
Yes.
And a lot of the Chinese knockoffs of the Segway and the skateboards, the electric skateboards. And
the little hoverboards.
It's like a fundamental component of it.
Right. So this is the Eureka thing.
What I'm trying to say is balance is a fundamental component.
Yes. So one of the things I wanted to show you was, and this is kind of where I was going, they're showing their thing. Okay, see this? This is Eureka. This is the NVIDIA software that everybody is using to train their robots, this environment here. It's a virtual environment. You just fill it with your devices. You give them all the effects and, or all the weights and measurements of the actual device. You could put the real physics into it. You can make it, Earth gravity, moon gravity, Mars gravity, whatever you want. And you can run infinite simulations, all the time, where it's just running around on this terrain. And they'll show you later that they have like uphill and downhill and uneven terrain and blocks and that kind of stuff, right? That these guys, all of them, I suppose, are trained in this environment along with, like you said, that material tech that already exists, that balancing tech that's already there. And so it mixes with that software and the moving environment, and it just tests itself over and over again in a virtual environment. So you never have to you don't have to break gear. You don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to make a prototype and then it falls down a flight of stairs and fucks itself up. And then you have to make a new one. And that's months or weeks before you can start working again. Right. And so they could just have it do this stuff and tell it what to do. Now this thing has different feet. It's got the knob feet like the dogs. This is where it bows to you, I suppose. This is so very weird, but it's actually just where it sleeps. It just sits on its charger. So they got the flat foot walker style, the dog feet, the bounce, the tennis balls, and the wheels. That's Tirani. And straight up just, and there's of course they always have the dude kicking it part, seeing if it can stay over. So it stabilizes itself. And then there it is. They flip it over on purpose, and then it rights itself. This is a big portion of this is just happening so goddamn fast. So this LiMX Dynamics robotics company existed 2 years ago, but they made Roomba knockoffs. That's all they made. They didn't make any walking bots. They just took the Roomba technology and copied it. They just made shitty knockoff Roombas. And now they're making semi-shitty, Boston Dynamics knockoffs, but in volume. And they're not the only place doing it. Like, South Korea is making their own, and they're not knocking them off. They're making their own really good shit. And then, nobody's part of the reason we're seeing, the Chips and Science Act, part of the thing that's happening there is that even all the robots that China is using and making over there, they're making them with this idea that you will have access, you and I, whoever buys it will have access to ChatGPT. But the public in China does not. So a lot of these robots in the testing facility, they're allowed to use them. And they can use the highest level of ChatGPT, but they're not allowed to sell those devices to the public in China because it's outlawed. So they've designed them based on, eventually you'll be able to use them, but they still have this limited version of what they can use. Still, it's going to be amazing because you'll be able to access it. Well, I'll be able to access it if we get those things or whatever, and they'll be making them, I suppose, relatively cheap. But the real advancements are going to be made everywhere else because they can't get ahead of the curve because they can only be reactive.
Yeah, so Gen AI in this sense, like it's helping with coding. Mm-hmm. It's not actually doing the work. No. It's not like controlling the robot. No. All ChatGPT is, or large language models in this case, they're a translator. So they mm-hmm. take human language and turn it into like an action. So open the folder on my desktop. The action of doing it might, previous to having a large language model, would have been to use your mouse to double click on the folder. Whereas the large language model understands open the folder on my desktop to mean do whatever behind the scenes was the same as double click, right?
Right.
So that's an important thing to understand is that the acceleration isn't happening necessarily because ChatGPT is doing it or large language models are doing it. It's happening because humans are using those tools to accelerate their work. Right. So it can happen in coding. Mm-hmm. The thing that you're looking at with the Eureka stuff, that has a little bit more to do with what I might call like game engines, because what that's doing is it's setting up virtual physics environment. And so it's actually trying to correlate. So the weight of the, like, what are those called? They're not just AT-ATs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, the AT-ATs.
AT-ATs were the four-legged ones, I think. So somebody probably knows what this two-legged one is.
Somebody in the chat will get mad at us.
At any rate, so the weight of it over the top of two legs, articulating, what it's doing is it's using a physics engine to simulate the weight, movement, and balance of that, and it's using something called reverse kinetics. And reverse kinetics are, it's the bones of it and the joints of it, and it's then translating that into motor movements to make the legs articulate to keep it at balance. And so the thing that's made that possible is really fast computers being able to communicate between the virtual and the physical, and then really fast sensors and motors and really subtle things that can move inside of those joints to keep that thing moving. What I'm trying to articulate is it's really easy to think, AI is just going to control this robot, but currently AI is not controlling the robot. It's humans using AI to accelerate their ability to control the robot. If that makes any sense.
Yes, absolutely. And the key component of it being that the developmental process used to have a lot of mechanical and time heavy steps in it, and more than anything, this Ed 209. Yeah, everybody's like, it's not even the Star Wars one they're going for Ed 209 with his like flicky foot and before he falls down the stairs. But there, I wanted to show you this as well. But what's between 3D printing, the kind of uniformity of design, the availability of power charging components like you're talking about, where you're like, we can buy this component, it's this big. Okay, so if we were to build a robot and we need a battery component for it, this is the weight and size of it, this is the heat that it puts off, this is the kind of ventilation it needs, and as long as we do that, it will work in our robot, right? And this is a good example of that. This is what's called the GR2. Now, we looked at the Figure 2, which is now working. This is the OpenAI has their own the Figure 2 robot, this guy right here, who was Figure 1 like a month and a half ago. It's already the 4th generation Figure 2, and this company has only existed for 15 months. This thing works in a BMW factory right now. They actually are working. Like Elon Musk wants to say he has the first deployed robots, and Digit wants to say they have the first ones in there. That is not true at all. These things have been working in this, and I believe it's in like South Carolina where these things work. The Digit is also in South Carolina. There's also another Amazon fulfillment center that's now using them. But like these things they can put these pieces in. What the thing that was amazing about this thing was it puts the piece in its place like it's supposed to, and then it knocks it into place. So it's aware that it hasn't settled right, and it settles it, which is the thing that a human can do. It also doesn't get its hand crushed in the giant pressing machine, which is the scary part of this. So this is their, what they think. It's for off-world consumer, household, and physical labor. I love the off-world part of it. Jesus, it's so fucking Blade Runner. But the idea is what they mean is before humans get there, to see if humans can handle the terrain someplace, walking and all that kind of stuff, you send walkable humans effectively out onto a planet's surface, and you see if while they're walking around in this environment, space snakes bite them on the legs. Nope, you can walk around for a while and nothing will attack you. Cool. You know what I mean? It's a fascinating aspect of this. So the GR2, which is the next thing that they have come up in this one. Hold on. Sorry. My bad. I hit the 2 part of it. Is this guy. Okay. GR2. So this thing is kind of like the Unitree one. And it's got 360-degree vision. It's got LiDAR in its head and all this kind of stuff. And it walks around. And this is what its LiDAR looks like. So this is kind of like the auto drive on Tesla, right? and it will see its environment. This is very rudimentary compared to what it's going to look like eventually, but it's all it needs, so it doesn't have to use up a bunch of processing power for this stuff. But this is the testing facility. It can tell who's who, can walk to somebody. That's what it's seeing. And then in this, if I may, yeah. So there's it has this like battery compartment on its back, and as it goes through. Okay, and then we get to the Neo. This is Neo. This is the one we saw a little bit ago where they did their first ad. And this is what Elon Musk is competing with and bullshitting his way through. Because everybody thought when this thing came out that the video you're about to see was a person in a suit. But it wasn't. They literally covered it in this jumpsuit to make it, more palatable and more humanoid than it would look without it. Because I think they were still prototyping the look of its outer body at the time, so they put a jumpsuit on it. But when Elon Musk did his thing, or the original one, the original Optimus was literally a guy in a suit. It was totally fake. They had a actor come out walking like a robot in a jumpsuit, pretending to be Optimus. It was total bullshit. It was like he keeps doing this. So anyways, this one can pick up, whatever, 60 kilo. It weighs 66 kilograms. It can pick up 150 pounds. It's got very articulate hands. This is the version that doesn't have full hands, but she takes a picture with it and it waves. That's where everybody was like, this is fake. This is a dude, or it's being controlled. It was not. The Neo was actually operating on its own. See this tendril right here? This is so it doesn't fall over. But they teach it how to use things. They'll do, like we were talking about, the hand controls, where somebody will, go through that, and they'll have one just like it. They'll virtually do it. But this thing, the big thing was it could hand eggs without crushing them. And it can pick up enough to like move your bike and do some cleaning and that kind of stuff. But they teach it how to do it with automated movement, and then it figures out what the task is, and then it can adapt to that task no matter what the environment is. So if it something spills or falls over, or it needs to reach further for a cup, it doesn't go to the same spot. And it operates very slowly right now, not because it can't walk faster, but because they want people to be able to outrun them. That's one of the big safety features that everybody's asking for. So this guy...
it's interesting to see how just putting a suit on him makes him, like, more palatable. Like, it just feels more real when all they did was just put a jumpsuit on it.
Right. This is the guy who designed him, by the way. This is I forget his name, but he's from the Netherlands. He's got the Dutch accent, talks like this all the time, that kind of thing. And you'll notice they blur out. Okay, we'll get to Atlas now. So they blur out some of the joints and stuff because they don't want to show how their servos work to other people. They've got proprietary stuff. One of the other reasons why they put a jumpsuit on it too was to cover up some of the advances that they had made in how they were doing it on the cheap and what they were using and where they were servicing from, because everybody's ripping everybody off. Now, this was the one that freaked everybody out. We saw this guy a little bit ago. Atlas is the big Boston Dynamics walking one that looks like it's got a thuggish upper body, and it was able to do flips and all that kind of stuff. And everybody's like, oh my God, the robot uprising is coming. The thing is, though, they were all hydraulic. The reason it was so big was because it used hydraulic joints to do everything. And it would make a lot of noise. It would go like when it would move around. Okay? Did you like that? That was pretty much nailed that, I thought, sound effects wise.
That was pneumatic. That sounded more pneumatic.
But that's what it sounded like to me when I heard it. So anyways, see, we are nerding out, kids. So but then they went with electronic servos for being able to move it instead of hydraulics. And then that's what they launched this one. This is the 001. And its legs can turn around and go in any direction, as can its head. And it has a ring light because apparently it's built for like Kardashians and creators. This is there you go. And it does push-ups. There it is. This is it with its rubber hands without its articulate hands. For just gripping, for example. Looks like it's doing the come on, ladies. But the thing about this thing is this sort of adaptable movement ability that if it gets trapped in a corner or it gets whatever, it can just rotate itself around and get out without having to, like, you and I would have to shuffle and move like this. It doesn't have to do that. It can just owl its head around and get the hell out of there. And so when you're talking about, like, saving somebody from a cave collapse or something like that, this is the thing. That's what they're thinking they'll send this in for, right? There's the big part of it.
Those movements feel like more aggressive, like more like a soldier versus
that's exactly right
person.
And Boston Dynamics is that you can tell who's going for what contract based on these. You're absolutely right. Then he walks away. This is the 001, by the way. Okay, so Chinese Kung Fu Wing Chun. This is so very silly. But this is the S1, which is a knockoff of the Eve, which is the Neo guy's first robot, which is on wheels. And then they've got it doing Wing Chun, which is just very silly. It's adorable. But there is feeding your Persian cat. And and this is the lady virtually playing with her cat using a Meta headset and watching through there. There it is, vacuuming. And this is how smooth its actions are, right? Human-like operation for your life's tasks. And here's the big one. So this is the thing that everybody was chasing for a long time. And this is where the large language models and the AI stuff starts to come in. Because it's figuring out what stuff is and therefore where it goes. Figure 1 uses this, and everybody's cribbing off this. Like that Figure 1 footage we saw where it was going, pick up this trash while you tell me why you handed me the apple. That one, when they initially did that. Now it can tell the difference between stuff colloquially and using natural language and put stuff where it needs to go. And this is a big aspect of like sorting things, sorting medicine, sorting tools, that kind of stuff for an actual human. Let's say you had a lab assistant like Tony Stark, that robot that he talks to. He's like, I'm going to donate you to a local college or whatever. That's what that was. It was initially, he built one of these, a single arm AI robot that can be effectively a mounting clip for whatever he's working on. Like, hold that right there while I weld it together. That was the purpose of it, right? Or hold something hot that I can't physically hold with my fingers while I do it. And it was, he was way ahead of everybody else. But that's where this is. That's what this is. I think it's one of my favorite scenes in Iron Man is where he's getting he gets hit with a fire extinguisher, because it doesn't know. It's just trying to help him. Yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I think my audio is pretty far behind, so today's a little more challenging. So the LLMs that we use and people create images for, and everybody's very worried about, it in reverse is this. Meaning, I say, make me a picture of a cup, and there's all kinds of different cups. So in order for it to give you the cup you want, you have to be more specific. So make me a picture of a coffee cup. What color is it? How big is it? How many ounces? Does it have a handle? That sort of thing. In reverse of that, you tell the robot, go get me a cup. So when it goes to the cabinet and it looks at all the things in the cabinet, it will be able to see with the same thing in reverse that makes it able to generate the image. It's analyzing what it sees, and it figures out what it would call a cup. And there might be 5 different things that it might call a cup. Same thing. So then it brings you the wrong one, right? Brings you a glass instead of a coffee mug, right?
Right.
So, those are the things that are going to get worked out. But my point is that the LLM part of it in this case is literally only the translation of understanding what to get, and then the identification of the thing to get. And then after that, it's about, electromechanical things to grab it, locate it, move it, bring it back to you, not trip over things or run into a wall. Like the LLM was
don't run over your cat or push you down a flight of stairs because it's
The LLM in this case was only used for the identification and the recognition and the communication to tell it what to do.
Here's one of the keys, and this does say this in here, right here. See this 1x speed teleoperation, which in this particular case is what I'm trying to tell you is this Astrobot S1 stuff is complete bullshit. It's learning from this. They're using this learning software, and that's what they're showing here. But this is a person operating these arms from a distance. So now, could you have a chef that works 3 different shifts and cooks for families using their Astrobot? Sure. Is that how it's going to really work out in the long term? Absolutely not. Maybe some fancy pants ideas, but it's just very odd. I would say maybe sex robots will work that way. Like there'll be some sort of OnlyFans, and you buy the dummy version of whoever it is that they sell for 10 grand and whatever. There's private sessions or some stuff. I wouldn't rule that out as a potential, use for a real person being in the chain, in the loop, as it were. However, the chain gets yanked, as it were. But in this particular instance, like, this is just how they'll teach the thing, the activities, right? And then eventually they'll keep it. Now, this is another, again, like all over China, there's these knockoffs. This is a knockoff of the Figure 1, for example. All these are close-ups. They're all doing housework. My favorite part of it, and they never show them finishing anything. It's like one activity, and look at all the wires. It's just horseshit. But this is basically what you saw. You could argue that the Optimus robots that Elon Musk is using are just a bunch of these that he bought. He's not making these things at all. He could just be farming out this stuff to one of these robotics companies and using ChatGPT outside the country for some of the stuff. But at this point,
it's likely that if they came from China, I mean,
yes,
everything else comes from China, and he's so in bed with them in terms of all of his other factories and work and stuff that it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and so a lot of this, like, it's just hooey. To use a technical term. And here's the Tesla bot. This is basically the same guy, and the Optimus Gen 2. This is brand new hands, these whatever. And it goes Tesla designed actuators. You're like, not really, but whatever.
They might have designed their own actuators and made them. I mean, that's right. Sure. But an actuator is an actuator. Like the differences between them are going to be minor because they're technically all doing the same function. It's similar in a way to like a car engine, right? Every car company, not everyone, but a lot of them make their own engines. So a GM engine versus a Ford versus a Honda, it's still an engine and it's still spinning a shaft. Right? Yeah. Like it just, they do it slightly differently.
Well, you could literally say it's based on size. You could design your own actuator because you want it to be 22 millimeters instead of 23 or 22.7. Like even the variant in that level is there. So this is what these things are currently doing right now. They're doing a lot of sorting in factories, and that's effectively it. And it's variability sorting, so they get in a situation where it doesn't quite work and it has to fix it. Because sometimes things are uneven, whereas a machine that did it would throw it off, essentially. Okay, and this is Isaac, or Isaac, depending on how you, I guess, go with it. But this is another one of these like rolling clamp ones. This guy, it's much like the one we saw before. That's the actuator one. I kind of find this one charming, in that it's very boxy and it's clear that whoever made this is just using old clamps, better designed covers on everything, made to look shiny. But look at these wheels, zero grip, just plastic wheels. This is such bullshit. But the top of it is basically just a webcam. It's basically that thing that came with a PlayStation so that you could use the PS5. For the virtual thing that would keep track of your movements by scanning you. That's what that is. It might even be the actual Xbox one, because people were repurposing the Xbox one for that use, to scan and use as a camera because it has a LiDAR in it. And it's just
I sent you in in the chat, I sent you a video of a company that popped up in my YouTube as an ad, actually.
Yes.
And it's an open source version of controlling a robot with just a VR headset.
Oh, right. Yeah, I got it. Hold on one second. Whoops.
My thought is that might be sort of the beginnings, the more logical beginnings of how robotics enter our homes.
Yes.
In the sense of being able to actually be controlled by, they're like an avatar as opposed to a autonomous vehicle.
Right. Yeah. Well, and this one is the one you're showing. This is from Unry. Unry is the Chinese knockoff company that's like making the quickest ones or whatever. And they're doing a ton of these kind of ads. And they decided to make this a feature, not a bug, because everybody caught them in their initial displays pretending this was autonomous, that it was not teleoperation. And so they just decided to lean into the teleoperation part of it. And that's partly because of lack of access to some stuff.
Yeah, one of the reasons this caught my eye, and I wanted to just show it as part of today's, because we talked about how the Musk event, I think it was 2 weeks ago, how they made that happen. So, but as a building block, this is how you get there, and it's not that hard. It's not that much different than a first person point of view flying drone. It's not that much different than a airplane that flies itself while the pilot sits there and might hit the button to take it off of autopilot, right? Like, these are very similar ways of controlling. And so the movements of the robot with the arms and the heads and the fingers and the expression of it, like, that's what makes it feel like it's so much more advanced, because the human is controlling it, and it's effectively like a remote control, but directly from the digits of the human, as opposed to like using sticks like you would in a RC airplane, right?
Yes,
so it feels like it's more advanced, but the only reason it feels like it's more advanced is because it's closer to being human. And so I think that it takes a lot more processing power, it takes a lot more advancement to get it to do those things on its own. It's actually quite impressive for a wheeled robot to move around a factory and grab something off the shelf and, let's say, bring it to a box to deliver it, right? That's really impressive. But that doesn't feel human to people.
Yes.
What feels human is when it comes in and it's got empathy, it talks to you, it then goes get you a cup of coffee, it pets your cat on the way back. Like, those things feel human, right? So those things are really difficult to accomplish.
Right.
But they will get accomplished using the same building blocks that we're seeing right now. And it's going to feel as if it's accelerating because of things like that. Like, a human controlling it makes it feel like it accelerated faster, but that robot is no different than the arm in the factory.
Right, exactly.
And got the subtleties because of the remote control.
But again, like the ChatGPTs are starting to sound, and Pi and others are starting to sound very human, the movements are coming in the same way, in that they can sort things, know exactly what you're talking about. I would also like to point out that in this video that they showed you, which is from Unry, the Chinese company, that teaches you that they're saying their software is open source for doing this. You know why it's open source? Download the Isaac Gym. Developer.nvidia.com/IsaacGym/download. That's why. Because they used NVIDIA's open source software to make their little offshoot piece of the software. That's why. Here's the code to modify it slightly, which you could do yourself in ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude or any of the other softwares that are out there.
Any group that's really good at software development will tend to start from something that's open source. That'll be its foundational elements. And then work off of that.
Right. But they also won't sell the idea that they're like, look, we made an open source software. Like, no, you didn't. Someone else made the open source software and you borrowed it, is effectively that. But again, the technology aspect of it is pretty impressive. Now, one of the other things that I guess they don't really talk about in terms of like we focus a lot on the mechanics of like what you're talking about, which is like variable robotics, humanoid robotics, dog-like robotics, interactive human robotics. There's a company called Optron, which is doing a lot with this, and let's just pick nucleic acid. I don't want to access the webinar. I just want to go away. Please follow the link below. Okay. Go away. All right. So let's say they have these box pieces of software that do. Now, this is a robot like you're talking about, where it's just an arm that moves one thing to another place. But it can make judgments based on the data that's coming in on it. So if it needs to mix chemicals or make proteins, for example, it can materially make them because it has access to all the components in there. They're set in there. And then it can, in the right amount, mix and match things together the same way a person would do it by pouring, from one test tube into another and then into a beaker and then heating it and all that stuff. That happens now all inside this box. This is called Optron. This is the company that makes this. And they make these boxes that are capable of doing like any number of these kind of activities: general liquid handling, protein synthesis, protein purification, automatic library prep and pre-sequencing workflows. So if you've got to make something that does take a human, it can do all the steps beforehand. It's like a 3D printer for proteins, for lack of a better phrase. And that is
inkjet printer. Instead of putting a dot of ink, it puts a dot of protein or a solution,
nucleic acid or something. Yes, exactly. Right. Which, again, this sort of advanced. These are their workstations. Now they're this 56 grand, this 42 grand, these whatever. Okay. These are expenses. A protein purification workstation. This is their Flex station, which has different uses. This is the Flex PCR workstation, which is where you would do like testing, a PCR test. You might be familiar with that from COVID, for example. If you're running a bunch of PCR tests, instead of having a person take out the sample and move it in there, let's say you have an infectious disease you have to work with, and you don't want any more humans in the line than you would want, then you have a robot that picks up the actual thing, sets up this box, the box will run the thing, and then the robot can, it'll just deliver the information directly into its data set. But this is stuff that is now, because of the large language models and development companies being able to make stuff so much faster and fabricate stuff without having to like hire a bunch of coders and put this shit together, that this is what's speeding up. Behind the scenes, we'll look at the dogs and all that kind of stuff, and it is very exciting and it's fun and all that stuff. But these are the robots that are happening behind the scenes that are going to change our lives on all fronts. The availability of these things. Go ahead.
So in this case, if you're a chemist, or I'm not sure what specialties the people would have that are working on the actual thing, they decide or they think they need to put chemicals in certain spots, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that person before would probably have not known how to get the dot of whatever to the spot that they wanted to. Yes. If they have a building block of a pick and place machine, which is effectively a 3D printer, they don't have to think about that. They don't have to go and develop that. They can literally use an off-the-shelf thing that's already been developed and works. So the building block of getting there was all of this time that was spent on accurately dropping a thing of plastic on a 3D print, right? Or there are plenty of other things that drove that. I'm just saying these are the building blocks. And the thing I think that is interesting to sort of come to terms with is what made electromechanical things like this possible was the fact that there's high volumes and cheap components coming from China that allows this to happen. So you can buy components and little chips and capacitors and like all these things, and you can put them together there. You can put them together here, but the high availability and the inexpensive nature of them is what made it possible to now make these things that we have now. And those are the building blocks that allow robotics to happen.
Yeah, I think there's a Moore's law aspect of this too, where we've achieved like escape velocity for ideas versus available technology to a certain degree, in that what you can do with stuff that's already available is still far ahead of even where, it's a matter of speed and efficiency that will get better and better. But the idea, you can make it happen in a way that you could never make it happen 5-10 years ago. Just at all. Most of these components are made in Taiwan, and I think the biggest part is like the outer casing and shit. That's all Chinese boxes up there. I mean, largely the frames they're probably using and the servos they're using, they're getting from 3D printers and that kind of stuff, and they're just repurposing like you're talking about. But I think what the big accelerator too has been is the chips. So the chips that TSMC are able to make, and especially the NVIDIA chips, are so far advanced, and they're available to Western countries, but not a lot of, not to China, not to North Korea, not to Russia, not to Iran. Now, they'll sneak around, they'll get some, no question, but they can't mass produce them. They can have a few, but they're going to have fab facilities before too long made by the chips that made the chips, right? The chips will make the chips. They'll get their hands on a really good one, and it'll be good enough to make things better and better and better, to the point where everybody's way out over their skis in what they can produce. The NVIDIA, I forget what the NVIDIA chip is, like the
You're talking about the specific AI components that they're making.
The Grace Hopper super chip, which is the NVIDIA one.
Yeah, that's like a combo of a CPU and a GPU, I'm pretty sure, if I'm thinking of the right one.
Yeah, and it is it's for AI and that kind of stuff, and you buy them in these giant trays. I'll show everybody this. So these are the chips, you can just kind of look at them and they're just kind of like, oh, but like they sold out before they even started being fabricated, because everybody had seen what they were capable of doing. Apple bought like the first run. Microsoft and OpenAI bought the second run of them before they ever even got sequenced. And these things are so fast and capable of so much, and China can't get them and Russia can't get them. And even if they did, they don't have the computer systems to put them in, so they can stare at them all they want to, but they can't link up to the rest of the stuff, because you need other components as well. But when you have those components and you pop this sucker in there, what it's capable of doing is just incredible. It's insane.
Yeah, the thing that makes these so amazing, as I understand them, is they're effectively like in a computer. You have the graphics, you have the CPU, you have the RAM, and it's got to communicate across all of those things, right? And the speed in these days is held back by the three things I'll say talking to each other. What this does is it basically puts them all in the same place. So the intercommunication between them is as fast as it possibly can be, and it's amazingly faster than what even your highest end computer is. So it's all happening, right there on that thing, really fast. And so that speed that is happening there, it eventually filters down into the cheap components. So the advances that they make on these super chips, they eventually become the little $5 Arduino chip that makes now a $30 Arduino board possible and more powerful, to then maybe have 10 sensors instead of 4, or 20 instead of 10. And so these are how those advances eventually filter down into other things. And we're figuring that out as we go. And one of the things that is really fascinating is, like, as it gets so much faster, and people don't quite know what to do with it. And I think a lot of the inability to visualize what these things become is what it leaves the vacuum for people to then fill back in with fear. And so we just talked about the robot using Gen AI, the tools of an LLM and machine learning, to walk over and recognize a cup, be able to grab it. So if you trained an LLM and you
Yes.
only use it to recognize the cup as opposed to create a picture of a cup, I would argue that people would be less worried about the implications of it destroying art and creativity.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
But the tool that allows it to recognize the cup is the thing that makes it capable of making a picture of the cup. And
Yes.
that's the interesting thing that we need to deal with.
Yes, you can't have one without the other.
Take away the creation without the recognition, right?
That's right.
And we have to have the image recognition for all of this stuff to work.
Yes.
The way that a Tesla driving down the road by
Mm-hmm.
itself works is by looking at something and recognizing what it is, which is
Right.
what our brains do, right? So, that's the conundrum is the recognition causes the creation thing, and also the other thing that I keep talking about is like all of this cheap stuff, all these commodities, like they had to move through the fact that we were producing everything in China and in
Yes.
Asian countries for a long time. And the shift, the change of that is effectively what we're experiencing now as
Yes.
inflation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say right now we're paying what I would call an anti-slavery tax on a lot of things, and I don't know why this doesn't get pointed out more often. And I pointed out the other day, and it kind of like I blame myself because I should have drawn more attention to it directly. But the anti Uyghur Exploitation Act, I believe it's called, it's close to that, of 2021, which was implemented right as Biden came into office. Like they did it right away. It was already gone through the House and the Senate in late December of 2020 when people were mad at China on the Republican side. So it was able to get passed, and it stopped the exploitation of specifically Xinjiang cotton that was being picked by Uyghurs forced slavery. So you would think Americans especially would be particularly sensitive to the idea that slaves are being used to pick cotton so you can have a shirt that costs $6 instead of $7.50, because that was the difference, right? That's the H&M t-shirts and the Forever 21 shit. The reason it's cheaper is because the cotton itself is that much cheaper because it is produced with slave labor. There are other ways to get there with efficiency and automation and that kind of stuff, which is where we're going to get to, and this is where this is ultimately going to lead. And ultimately, the function and use of slave labor is going to be completely without value at a certain level of automation for first world countries especially, and even after a while because of cast-offs, because all of our what we think of as a crappy cell phone is life-changing in other parts of the world. The same thing will be true of robotics. The same thing will be true of computer chips. And like I said, those Arduino boards that we're talking about, you know how people talk about how there's more technology on your phone than there was to land the Apollo, blah, blah. Okay, that's true of an Arduino board as well. And for those that don't know, let's see if I can.
True of all technology. I mean,
yes,
it's kind of silly to think about that from the standpoint of, well, then go back 15 years before that even, and World War II airplanes flying around.
Yes.
Or, like any technology is going to progress that fast, right? Like,
right. So this is, I'm going to show up. Where's the thing? Okay. An Arduino board is effectively it's a little like open source computer.
It's a little microprocessor.
Yes, right. Here we go. I was just trying to find it.
Raspberry Pi is more like a little computer, whereas an Arduino it's simply
just the
taking
raw chip
inputs,
itself. Yeah.
and then it can make decisions. You write code for it, but you're writing code that most of the time is considered something called firmware. So it's taking like an electrical signal from, let's say, a switch or a camera
Sensor.
or a heat sensor or something like that. It doesn't matter what the thing is. It converts it to electric signals. This thing can read the signal, make a decision based on your code, and then go do something like turn a light on if you flip a switch, or if the heat gets too high, turn the water on. Stuff like that. It's no different than your thermostat.
Yes.
Thermostat effectively has an Arduino in it. It's just custom made for your thermostat, right?
That's right. And Arduino's kind of like a
did.
Yeah, go ahead.
It allowed people to experiment, like for very cheap, because you can get these things. I don't know the prices these days, but under $50 for sure. Some of them are like 10 or under 10. And
yeah,
you can
like your beginner ones will be like $9. Like,
yeah. So that's a path for your R2D2 that you started out with.
That's right.
Is you effectively need to take out whatever logic board they have in, replace it with the Arduino, and then figure out how to control those motors and stuff.
That's right. Upload its software, modify its software in ChatGPT is the idea. Take its code, upload that code into ChatGPT. Go, hey, I'd like to modify this so that it can access through a Wi-Fi.
Well, you won't get the code off of it though. That's one issue. Of the one that's in it, I'm not sure that you'll be able to get it off.
Right.
But we can work on that separately.
Yeah, it's a different thing. Yeah.
These types of things.
I think you can find it on GitHub. I think you can actually find the software on GitHub. The original. But
so what I'm trying to get at is these are the little building blocks that go into just average people's hands.
Yes.
And
stuff you're walking around with all the time.
These components is what makes innovation speed up, because more people are out there thinking about it. And the cost to try stuff is almost nothing now compared to what it was.
To get access to one of these things, like if like this, you could do an entire 1980, early 80s Bond film about someone trying to steal that to change the course of the Cold War. Pretty close. Like, I mean, obviously it'd be the next, I think it's the 3488 or whatever, which is the next big step up from it, which has its own bigger processor on it, which would be like closer to a 286 or something like that, but still like amazingly advanced for the mid 80s or something. And now you can kind of find these anyways. And if you notice people, there's a USB port right here and a power port, and then the rest of it is, these are all like where the plugs go for sensors and cameras and sound devices in and outs on either way. And then this would be the chip, I guess, where the most of the logic would
microprocessor.
Yeah, the microprocessor would.
Kids in high school
chip
STEM classes are using these, and they're building stuff with. They're learning on Arduinos. They're learning on Raspberry Pis. That's happening in high school and late grade school in many cases. So, our kids are going to be growing up with these advanced electronics compared to when we were kids.
Yep.
And that means something. It's going to turn into something.
So my next door neighbor, Kurt, rest his soul, who was my best friend growing up when I was a kid, became a computer programmer. He was gay and had to leave Kentucky effectively because his parents didn't approve. He got married and he had a lovely life, and he passed away a couple of years ago, and we miss Kurt very much. But Kurt was, because his dad was chairman of the school board in Frankfurt, in the capital, got access to an Apple computer. It was an Apple II before anybody else. So we used to play with that thing all the time. And he became a programmer because he had access to a computer at a very young age, and that became his thing. He was great at it. But we also would get circuit boards from Radio Shack and solder stuff together to try and make these like a functional board that would turn on LED lights or do stuff like that, like little just single LEDs, that kind of stuff to make kind of like just messing around. This is effectively that pre-built to do all the things you'd want to. It's just a variability factor that it can, it's got a bunch of ins and outs. You can route it, you can talk to it effectively through software. And instead of having to do all the individual soldering of where you want it to go, you do it via a computer program, essentially onto the microprocessor that's on there, this is the better one than this guy. This would be the cheaper one. This is the next to a level up or whatever, and they all have different uses and different sizes and shapes. You can put them in different things because people make stuff. They make everybody with their anybody you see with an Iron Man cosplay outfit where the stuff moves on it or whatever is using one of these to run it essentially. That's the biggest part of the work that they did. But the fact that how you you can learn how to use one of these things fairly quickly. I mean, this is in Makerspace. This is the breakdown for it. This is where this is what you're looking at, how it works. It'll give you a breakdown of how you can, connect things. There you go. It's like that. And then how to program it. There's the programming software. And even now, this is the step that we're talking about with the large language models, is now you could just basically ask ChatGPT to do this part of it.
Yeah. Now you have to be really specific and know what you're doing, but
Yeah.
instead of, so in this case, an LLM can become a really good learning tool. Because
Yes.
instead of having to search, let's say Google, to functionally do a thing, you can ask it in plain language by explaining to
what you're trying to do.
Explaining in plain language what you're trying to do, and then it will give you options for how to accomplish that. You can then try those options and see if they work, and if they don't, you go back at it. And a lot of times, at least in our work, it's a combination of things. I think I keep cutting out.
Well, you know what? You actually, yeah, I hear you just fine. Your audio caught up with me, so it took a minute or something, but now you're in time with your video. I don't know what happened. The lag ended.
Video Ninja keeps putting me by myself.
Oh, okay. We might be under attack.
Maybe I can pop out and come back in because it hasn't been acting very good.
Yeah, you could do that if you would like. That's no problem. Hold on. I'll hop over to the chat real quick. Yeah, do that real quick, and I'll bring you back in. Hi, chat room, by the way. Welcome. And look, I know this gets a little nerdy at times for you guys, but this is changing how your life is going to shift in the next 3 years because of this. And I got to tell you, I've been way ahead on a bunch of this stuff, so I'm just trying to warn you, just trying to let you know. In this, and let's see if I can pop into here real quick. Here it comes back. Hold on. We'll see if this helped at all. Copy that. And then we'll see if, hopefully, yeah, hold on one second. Let me, Voop. Where'd you go? There we go. Pop back in here. Then I've got to put the link back in, and I'll bring you back in here. Oops. That's no good. Oops. Hold on. It did not like that. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Here's the thing. Okay. Oh boy. Wait for the program to respond. Yeah, it's good that we're talking about computer stuff and it like crashes OBS while we're at it. I think we're still on. We'll see. Hold on. It's just me. Yes, we are. It's just freaking out.
I have a very slow upload.
You have a very slow upload on your side, you mean? That won't affect anything.
My up is, it says severe connection issues.
Ooh, that's not good. We're being attacked by the Russians, no doubt. Hold on. I'm gonna wait for it to figure itself out. It's just me alone. They can hear you. I just can't put you in right now until it decides it's doing something. Okay, OBS.
Right. Well, I can just turn my video off.
No. It's right now.
Like
I've just got
way behind.
No, it's okay. Right now I've got a white screen on all of my elements of OBS. Pardon me, folks. I'll be right back after, and we should be back in the normal part of it fairly quickly. Hopefully that brings me back up. Hey, look at that. Back. That's good. Now let's see if I can bring Rob in without crashing everything. There we go. Luckily, I did it fast enough. I did the computer shuffle. Uh-oh. Oh, it no likey. VOD not responding. Oh, yeah, it's doing it again. It does not like the Ninja browser. It's doing it again. It does not like the Ninja browser source right now. That's what's happening. Something's off. Start. Get back up there. Connected. I think we're back. 3, 2, 1, and then something else. It might even be that we're having an issue on the internet here, because I'll spend a good deal of time trying to solve problems. Oh, look at that. Yeah, we're back up. I'll spend a good deal of whoops. Oh, and then Rob left. There we go. Perfect. Hi, everybody. I'm going to start the virtual camera. Hopefully he'll pop back in. And apparently it does not like the browser source window that goes with him. So what I'm going to do is create a new one called Rob Glenn. And then when he comes back in, if I can get it back, because he might be restarting his thing, there you go. I'll pop him into that window, and hopefully that it will it won't collapse. I have such a fun experience with these things. So I take this. This is now you know how. This is a behind the scenes working of it. I'll just move this down here. Move this way down here. I think Rob is trying to do his restart as well in there. And then I've got to add it on the... Yeah. This might be the internet gods going, you should probably put a pin in this for the day. People have been nerded enough, Hal. Please, leave them alone. They've gone through so much already. You've nerded them far too much. But I don't think so. I insist. Okay, so hopefully Rob can hop back in. He might be doing a restart himself. Yep, that's what it looks like. Okay, so copy this. And then I made you a whole browser of your very, very own.
Lucky
so,
me.
Yeah, it's nice. 3, 2, 1. There you are. Yeah, look at that. And it's so clean.
I still have a really slow upload. I think it's a video ninja problem.
It might be. Yeah. We run into those things occasionally. But on my end, fabulous. You are the video's good, audio's good, looks good on my end. I do see the red up in your corner of your video screen that I see. There's that little red thing that says I'm getting shit signal from you. But as far as I'm concerned, it looks fabulous.
Okay.
I think it looks just fine.
If it goes down again, I'll just shut down because I actually leave it on anyway. So
all right. Yes, we do.
There's three questions in the or four questions in the Discord
in the chat. Okay. Let's address those.
56 Nick said, ask the fellas if there's any word on the status of Russian and Chinese AI applications. Thanks. I would say assume that Russia and China and Iran and every country in the world using AI to try to do stuff.
Yes.
And you know,
hold on a second.
Like everybody kind of knows how it works. So I don't really think that there's. Oh, is there a slapback? Andreas.
Yeah, hold on. I got it. Covered. Done.
All right. Do I need to ask the question again?
No, you just heard it twice.
They heard it twice already?
Like Elvis. Yeah. Go ahead. So
yeah, just assume that everybody's using it because it's available to everybody. So just assume good people are using it, bad people are using it, everybody's using it. And there's nobody's got like some advanced version of it.
Right.
Everybody's got
if anything, they have the version that's behind. So a lot of their stuff is pretty slapdash. The thing that they're able to do is probably the easiest and probably the simplest is they can create chat bots. And they've had that ability for a long time anyways, that run on, fucking Twitter is full of them. Oh my God. Like remember they used to have to set up these Macedonian hacker farms and these hired idiots all over the world to argue with Americans, right? To just get on there and start, going, hey, I'm from Texas. You're full of shit. You don't know anything. Guns and God, right? And they would have to like respond and deal with it. Now they just set up a chat bot that combs Twitter for that shit. Right. And just responds.
Like, we'll train it on all the things Stephen Miller's ever said. And then let it go. The next question is, and hopefully now it won't be double. Can a 3D printer make an ink cartridge that doesn't run out? That's no.
Nope.
And that's pretty
nobody
funny.
can change physics or the material sciences magically.
Right. The next one was Marker. What impact will a personalized LLM have over the years? How can you manage quick adaptive learning? Because that's how humans are.
Yes. Well, I mean, here's what I would say, and this is get started. Like I forced myself because I found myself kind of like reticent to do it. that once the voice part of it came out on ChatGPT, which you can access for an hour a day or whatever, and I run it out. I do the whole, like I use my hour a day almost every day now. But I will set my phone up and just talk to it and try to like get to what my use case would be, in these kind of things. At first I couldn't find one. And now like there was, what was I needed to know the size of a bolt that I was using the other day. And I literally was like, why am I like wasting any time like trying to I pulled out my phone and I pointed out like, what size bolt is this? And it was like 7/16 or whatever. And I was like, ta-da! Like that's the use for it for me. In the same way that a calculator is there, so can you do the long math? Sure. Is it a good use of your time if you're just trying to get to the solution? No. And the same thing is true with a lot of these things. And that ability to use the visually see something and know what it is incredibly useful in this particular situation. And you can creating a situation. I'm going to move my screens back up because they had all died. The ability to kind of like solve minor problems easily with it, which seems like cheating or laziness. That's the hardest part I have in doing this. And because you're doing it for work, you don't have to, you're just getting shit done. You know what I mean? But when it's on a personal level, right, it feels like, I'm cheating. I should look this up. I feel like my dad's yelling at me or something. But at the same time, what it does is running through the steps of things, especially, basically every manual for any device is automatically added to this thing. So today I was talking about like how we're going to eventually route audio, and had we not had our issues, that's just out of control. That's just the nature of shit. I set up a routing so that, which is why the music turned off when I was messing with something earlier, because I was testing something before we went on the air. Yeah. So that I can route my voice and your voice only to ChatGPT and Pi, and then their voice back to a separate channel so that it doesn't overlap and they hear themselves. Right. And so it's just a little squirrely because I'm using two browsers, and the browser audio in and out of it isn't just the software I'm using. It's also the ins and outs of the internal part of the PC, its own little internal routing beyond that. So it's kind of like competing with the audio software that I use. So it's a little squirrely to figure out that bus, which bus to put it on, and how to get it on the right bus so that it stops at the right station. And so I was like, I'm doing it in my head, kind of like I'm literally drawing old-fashioned schematic of like, okay, this goes in here, this goes out here, and then I want this audio, and then I need this audio to come back here without going into here, right? That kind of stuff. And then I was like, what am I doing? And I was like, ChatGPT, can you draft me a schematic of how I should source a voice meter potato and the internal, audio inputs and outputs of my PC, which, here's my sources. I need, a browser source voice from one browser and my own microphone going to this thing, going to a separate browser, the audio from that browser coming back out, but without referencing back to itself. And it was like, click this button, do this button. Then this one, it created basically an instruction manual for that one task. Right? And that in and of itself was like, you know what I mean? Because I could dick around with it for a while.
Like most things.
But it doesn't get me any closer to my goal.
Yeah. Most things creative get sidetracked or get derailed by not knowing what screw size it is. Like there's so many little things like that derail a normal like process that you just want this task to be done. And we find that all the time. And so what I try to say is anything that we're doing more than a couple of times, we should start to try to automate that. So, we're doing like simple stuff like picking files or analyze or making spreadsheets that might do some calculation for us or record something. And so we'll use LLMs to either do the task for us or to help us make a like a tool that will automate it. Again, it's not using the LLM specifically to do the task. We almost never do that. It's always just augmenting the thing that we're doing ourselves. Yeah. And that's powerful enough. You don't need it to do the work for you. You just need it to help you. And that's what's going to make the best work at the end, is not trying to get it to do exactly what you want, but have it help you do what you would have done anyway. Yeah. That's how I try to explain it.
Well, again, I was making that point about this guy last week, which is that little piece that now comes with every IKEA thing for nailing, finishing nails in. And it's the exact measurement for the piece to get the edge to where the particle board frame and the little back piece are, so that you don't have to try and each and every one with your finger go teek, 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 teek. Oh, it's crooked. Oh, it's whatever. You just clamp it with this thing. It's got a little hole in it. You clamp the nail with that. You tap it a couple times. You take this out and you hit it and you knock it all the way in. And it's identical every time. Eventually, there'll be a little adapter thing that you can buy to a screw gun that will go. You'll put the nail in it. You go tka 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 like a stapler, right? That they'll eventually do that. But for the time being, this is great. They 3D print these things. So, because until they reach a mass of, okay, yeah, we're going to include these with every single one, and then but you could go on Thingiverse. This is where this came from. You can go on Thingiverse, and somebody came up with one of these things for doing furniture finishing and other stuff like that, and to hold a screw or a nail in place while you do it without smashing your finger. And they just made it like, hey, print this yourself. Just go on Thingiverse. Whatever size you want, you go, I need one for not just finishing nails, like a real, a 2-inch nail with a certain diameter, and you just go, okay, and you take it into your program, you whip, make it a little bigger, and print it out and go, yeah, that fits. And if it doesn't fit, you just shrink it a little bit, make another one. That's it, right? That's kind of the beauty of like what's available. This is just impossibly unavailable a couple of years ago. The same thing is true of like these automated pieces of gear. I want to show you something real quick. Let's see if this will work, because I got to put you back into the other window on this guy. No, I've got to add you, because if I try to do it, it will collapse. Hold on one second. They can hear you, so go ahead. Yeah, of course. Boink. There you are.
Okay. Well, we're like this. The connection is bad or something.
Wonky today.
With the connection. So why don't it's 12:30 already?
Yeah, you gotta go.
Just call it a day, and
yeah,
we made it this far.
Yes, we did. I made it through the rain.
I'm sure people want to hear you
talk about politics.
A little more.
Yeah, right. Sure, of course, no doubt. But I want to show you this one last thing before we go, because I'm me, and this is how I roll.
Okay.
This is Alibaba. Alibaba is Jack Ma's, Chinese Amazon site. Okay. And there are a couple of things that, like, if you look, all I did was type in robot onto Alibaba, and and the volume of stuff that comes up, like here's a diving robot that's $2,400. Here's a rolling, this the good price 3D slam endurance 6-hour thermo checking robot. So this is, you roll it around a gas facility and it checks to make sure nothing's about to explode. That's effectively what that robot does. It's all it does. There's Roomba knockoffs of dozens of kinds. The arm that used to be a huge deal. There's these, $7,000 industrial size ones. There's also $200 kids versions of them. This is a indoor intelligent control autonomous.
I really want one of those arms.
Yes.
I really want one of those arms. So I found an open source arm that I'm going to 3D print, and I'll probably make it for like $200. And of course, it won't function anywhere near what the $10,000 or the $25,000. But we just want to play with it and test. And like we don't need to be spending 30 grand.
Well, and you can
And,
program
like,
all
if
the
we can
stuff that you'll have that thing
customize it
do,
to our
and
thing,
then yeah, you can program it to do, you know, whatever you're working on doing, you know, with whatever that arm is, like this guy right here. And then eventually, if you want to you need to do an industrial level one, you just buy it and you've already got the tasks programmed out. It's effectively the same servos.
That's the thing is, you don't have to spend the money before testing whether it's going to work or not.
Right.
And we have all the equipment to make our own anyway. So like, you know, what you can do with YouTube these days and GitHub. And I mean, yeah, I think of Alibaba as just like a place, like we used to look at toys a lot.
Yes.
To find creative ways to make something seem like it was doing more than it was doing. Like you'd be surprised at how many like really simple, cheap ways toys create a function that it would have been way more expensive to do with more like you know, industrial level stuff. I keep cutting out, so
Okay, I'll let you go because I know it's frustrating. I deal with this all the time, so I'm very easygoing with it. But I can understand short timers oftentimes. But I want to let me just wrap this up by saying Rob Glenn, Root Design Chicago. He's again my nerd brother from another mother, and we are. Both of us are very bullish and positive on large language models and AI, as it is colloquially known as the new UI. And oops, I lost you for a split second, but you'll pop back in. But I want to say thank you to him for popping in and joining us today. There you go, you're back in. And when things get easier and the internet isn't being attacked, I'll have you back on and we'll talk more about this. But by next time, I'm going to have it so that you and I can have a discussion. Next week's guest for Friday Eye will be me, Rob, and ChatGPT having a conversation. So we're gonna do our first kind of back and forth, and I don't know if Rob can see me right now. I can see him, so I'll let him go. All right, there he goes. I think he just kind of was like, all right, whatever's happening with the interwebs, off we go. So the other thing too is, you know, and by the way, hi chat room. Let me bring you in here real quick. Is that we deal with? Oh, sorry, my Venmo's in the way. I apologize. By the way, it's a great way to support the show. Just saying. Bink. So I can also make it come back or whatever. Just meow. All right. Not quite as good. That wasn't smooth at all. Sorry. That's pretty lame. I apologize. Bink. There you go. So one of the things that, you know, I'm looking at in all of these in sort of the advances that we talk about every week is just how fast they are happening. So the best example I would give is, and I found this right as we were going out, so I couldn't tell if, you know, like Rob couldn't see it. But Unry is the Chinese knockoff company that's stealing from, where is it? Here we go. Let me show you this guy. They're the ones ripping off Boston Dynamics, effectively. I'd like to look at the price right now. Still a lot of money, but it's laptop money. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, bank mainframe money like it used to be, right? It's not, you know, personal server for a cryptocurrency startup kind of money, which is what it was, like 50 grand, 60 grand before, or what these are. It's $1,600. And again, you know, a crazy addition to just the availability of these things. So in relation to this, I want to show you guys something, chat. Let me see if I go, I don't know. That's the thing. Can I find this quickly enough? We don't know. But one of our favorite right-wingers bought one of these, bought a Unry. See if it comes up. Yeah, here you go. Okay, this should come as no surprise that he's as douchey as you think he is. Paste in here. There we go.
Hey,
Now our wives might
hold on. Okay. So, no surprise. Now, here's the part that might confuse everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching House Parks Megaworldwide, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. And of course, this is the morning show, Friday Eye, every week, where we do our breakdown of kind of robot news and futuristic stuff. Where I'm just a futurist. Deal with that. It's more than a hobby now with me. It will be after we put Trump in the rearview mirror. It'll be one of the singular focuses of my personal life beyond my own artistic stuff. Is being a mechanical hobbyist doing robot shit. So just know that about me. Just something I do. Just something that's my idea of a good time. So that and rocking and rolling and whatnot. But let me show you. Just call this the douchebag report. Ladies and gentlemen, you recognize this dipshit, right? You can have a flame-throwing robot dog army for what price is the name of this video.
It's a little pricey, but watch this. This is...
Also, I would just like to say, that is the Unry Go, the dog I just showed you for $1,600 with a flamethrower on top of it. And this is why he's...
new robot flame-throwing dog.
No.
Yeah. So it's a robot, which just it walking around is enough to scare the hell out of you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it has
Laser sight?
Laser sights. It can prowl the property at night, and it's made for like forest fighting or war. But it also has a flamethrower strapped to its back.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Now, there's fires all around
crazy.
it. Did this thing start the fires?
No. This is going to cause a backburn for forest fires.
Okay.
So they send it out, and
Anyways.
Very imaginative. Imagine what the Hope Hicks could do with that thing. There'd be chainsaws on that bad boy.
You put that.
So, anyways, let's be abundantly clear. This is, Glenn Beck laughing and joking with everybody on this show about what you could use this for and whatever. Never mind the fact that this is a Chinese robot dog that has circuitry and chips in it made in China, just like a Huawei phone, and has all the security issues that would go with it. So they talk about this.
Like, I need some financing for my flamethrowing robot dog.
Can you imagine? Bot dog. Oh. I want one.
Yeah, I mean, you can finance that, right? What's the rate?
Can you imagine?
Can you go to your bank and be like, I need some financing for my flamethrowing robot dog?
Can you imagine if you had like one of those, a little box in your yard, and somebody comes up to the door that you don't like, and the box opens up, and this robot dog stands up and puts a laser on you. I don't think you knock on the door.
I don't think you knock. I think you leave.
So. I think you leave quick.
Okay.
Flamethrower. Maybe. Yeah. I don't mind.
So
I was 50 grand. You can have a dog. Yeah.
What about
your motorcycle is 50 grand. You can have a flamethrowing.
Right. This was when the Unry. This is 5 months ago, when buying the Unry Go cost $47,000.
Robot dog for $9.
It's now $1,600.
Or for 50.
You can have a flamethrowing robot dog for $9.
Or for 59, you can have a
Okay, so they were $9,000 5 months ago.
flamethrowing robot dog on the back of your motorcycle. You're not great at math, but
that's 90 grand.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Because that's how you'd have to do it.
Seriously, how terrifying would that be if you came around the corner of just
Take the
a parking lot and 6 of those things walked up to you?
Take the flamethrower off. Take the flamethrower off.
Just by itself.
Okay.
Terrifying.
But you can be.
Okay. Long story short, Glenn, I think, has bought one of these.
War more likely to happen.
No, that's true too.
Because you could go in, if you're a bad country and you don't care about how many people you kill on the other side, your people aren't being killed. Look out.
That's called biowarfare. That's why biowarfare is outlawed, because you lose nothing.
You just barely see it.
That's incredible.
I mean, this drone made yet? This thing, you look it up on YouTube. This thing just is like.
People.
They're getting rid of those our tanks in Ukraine. The Abrams tanks. They're getting rid of them off the battlefield because they're all getting taken out by drones.
Yeah. Have you seen the fastest drone made yet? This thing, you look it up on YouTube. This
Oh dear.
thing just is like.
They're all like that stupid. Okay. Never mind me nerding out, folks, about the fact that, like, hold on. Let's see. Where's the newest one? Maybe it's live even. It wouldn't be surprising. Drone. Yeah, drone racing. There we go. Is drone racing? Well, here you go. This is 5 years ago. Hold on. This is 5 years ago. This is drone racing footage in an abandoned coal factory. That's 5 years ago. From a camera standpoint, pretty crazy. The pilot wears special goggles. Wow, is that old? Shit. That footage is old as shit. Okay, now let's go to, here you go, Duncan, the fastest lap. Here you go. So this is a 1 minute fast lap of drone racing. Prepare to barf, I suppose. Drones go so fast they have to Tokyo drift in the air. They have to like kill their engines that just kind of like slipstream because they're so fast. Now imagine that controlled, by the way, by, I'm going to turn off the noise because it's really irritating, that sound. Imagine this controlled by a computer that is aware of all the physics involved and can adapt faster than the human eye. You know, there you have it. That's that. You know, talk about where shit's going right now. We've lost R2, right? The Red Bull drone, Boston Brian, yeah. The VR flight sim is nuts. Yeah. This is, I mean, again, and they even, yeah, there you go. Boston Foundry. There you go. That's from Boston Brian, ladies and gentlemen. There is let's see if I can find this for you. So, let me be abundantly clear. Where is it? Here, this guy. So, this is what, Glenn Burke was talking about. Is this guy right here, just with a flamethrower mount on it with a laser, which, by the way, this thing has a thing on it where you can adapt it to throw a switch. Essentially, you just give it a control and go, hey, you know, IO right on your back. You know, there's an adapter thing that makes something go click, click, or whatever, and you attach that to it, and then you can build anything on top of it with a 3D printer that will adapt to that click point. So you can turn something on and turn something off and whatever. You can add the arm to the top of its head and that kind of shit that you can do with a bunch of these other. This one's basically the sort of simple model, the go-to. And it can, insofar as I know, yeah, here it is. This thing has, can we open this guy, you bastards? Why you doing that to me, you bastards? Open image in new tab. Maybe it'll do it. There we go. So, yeah. Now let me, here, I'll show you. Boom, 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 boom. So this is a knockoff. This is not even the real deal. The real deal can do even more stuff, but this is just your basic prosumer version of this thing. Has a tracking module, a front camera, a front lamp, a light on the front of it, an intercom microphone so that it can hear and you could talk back to somebody. So there's an app on your phone where if there's somebody on your property, you're like, hey, you might want to piss off. You can also attach it. It's got a controller, a high performance ARM processor. It's got basically like an iPhone 13 level, not even, iPhone 10 level chip in it as far as its interaction. Wi-Fi, smart battery, foot sensors, so that it knows how hard it's stepping, so it can tiptoe or it can stomp. It can let you know it's coming by, you tell it to do that, so it doesn't sneak up on you, or it can, if it's got a flamethrower, I guess, attached or whatever. There's a easy to carry and load things. It has a self-retracting strap, which is a thing on the back of it where if you wanted to walk along and carry your bags effectively, or you want to carry it, it has this thing that relaxes, and then you can put the thing over it, and then it goes, zoop, it tightens around it. What if someone hits or kicks it? It steadies itself, Spicy Dragon. It'll just kind of, right itself. Then it's got 4D LiDAR, 12 knee joint motors, and a speaker. I like this. This is my favorite part of it, I think. Probably the best. Hold on. Speaker for music play. in case you want music. Listen to music as your pleasure. It's got a speaker for music play, everybody. So this is the one that he was talking about. Although 5 months ago, it was probably the version 1 still. This is the version 2. New creature of embodied AI, which is, again, like just the Chinese translation to English is pretty hilarious. New and improved return with glory. Infinite revolution, which means it can turn around, I guess. Or it's always updating, is probably what they mean. Ultra-wide 4D LiDAR, that's this thing right here. Upgrades recognition system by 200%. Ultra-wide scanning. It's got a 0.05 millimeter blind spot, 20 meter reflexivity, effective frequency, Okay. Your new intelligent friend. That's the way I like to think of myself, folks. As I'm Hal Sparks, I'm your new intelligent friend. Nerd Halen music, please. Yes, I feel like we need one of these to come on stage during Nerd Halen. I feel like Nerd Halen needs a mascot. That's what I think. Oh my God, that would be so weird. It would be so weird. Just to bring this fucking thing everywhere. And by the way, see these little tits underneath it? It's got tits. Okay, that's because when its legs fold, those are the legs it sits on. It just goes dunk and sits there on these rubber stoppers. There you go. Front and so that guy right there used to be $9,000. Now it's $1,500. In a little while, a version of it, a cheaper version of it that will do everything it currently does will be $600. Just count on it. And the older versions, you'll still be able to buy the Go 2 because there'll be a few of them left over, in theory. Can you milk it? Yes, go ahead. Try. Does it charge for the milking? No. Yes, it automatically charges. It has a charging plate underneath it, so it goes and sits down on its charger and charges itself. In theory. The other ones, the Boston Dynamics dog does, so I'm assuming since they steal all the stuff, that's what it does. And it, yeah, there you go. This is the little guy running around. This is the old one though. This is I think okay, this is the one. Yeah, this is the Go 2. Hi, I'm home. Welcome home. Hold on, does this thing make noise? Yeah. Good boy. Shake hand. Automatic code generation via GPT. Yeah. Very good. Right. So it uses ChatGPT and it does this thing. I'll dance to pleasure you instead. Yikes. Hold on. This was I don't know if you saw this. Hold on. It said, I'll dance to pleasure you instead. Here you go. This is doesn't want to play this separately. Dink, dink. He's dancing. I mean, the balancing on it is pretty nuts. Look at that. Nice dance. Now take a photo of my outfit. As you wish. Cheers. Beautiful. Whatever. Okay, hold on. Let me reload the page and see if I can start the video from scratch. New creature of enjoyment. Here you go. I'll turn on the audio. Oh, right. I can't do that because it's on the wrong page, you son of a dog doodle. The audio out on it changes. So I'll just grab this, copy, and we'll go to a, hi guys. We'll go to here. We'll paste this. There we go, and go. And then this will play it. Moves well and coordinated. Here's the little, yeah, so this is the video we're talking about. There we go. We'll move this up, open it up, and turn on the
I'm back.
Welcome home.
Good boy. Shake hand. Very good. Give me some water.
Sorry, I can't reach it. I'll dance to pleasure you instead.
Get me some water. Sorry, I can't reach it. I will dance to pleasure you instead. Oh, dear God.
I'm back.
Welcome home.
Hold on. This is what it's really for.
Nice dance. Now, take a photo of my outfit.
As you wish. Cheers.
Beautiful. Let's go out for a walk.
Yeah. Kill. I will dance for you instead. I can't kill right now. I will dance for your pleasure instead by killing him. Various actions and poses. Take your dog for a walk. Bionic gait. Autonomous inspections. Equipped with a dexterous robot arm. Go pick up trash. Buoy. That's the charging thing. There you go. And then this is the, again, they're using the NVIDIA software to do this. And again, that's last year's version of it. That's why the 2 is out on Alibaba for $15.99, because the fucking 3 is what they're selling to everybody else. My point overall being is that they're coming, and there is no way to stop it. That's the cheap knockoff, easily available. You're going to see a bunch of, like, I don't know how long it will take. It'll either be a rapper or a movie star that will have one of these on a red carpet with them. Also, there's this thing, too, which is Luna. Luna's been around for a little while. And it's now, Chat GPT ready. I'll show you this guy right here. Oh, that shrinks down. That's stupid. Hold on. This is Luna. Come on. This is Luna. It's sort of cute. It's very Disney. This was it's an American invention. It's just made in China, so you can buy them on Alibaba because they just knock them the fuck off. But it's a smart pet for kids. But it also now, because it can access ChatGPT, can speak and do all kinds of stuff that it couldn't do before. Yeah, so Chat is very interesting, right? It's very interesting because you can't use it in China. They won't let you. But it will also take pictures and send you pictures and that kind of stuff. But it's got rolling wheels like this kind of thing. And you can tell it what to do, and you can practice coding with it. So it's basically like a STEM toy for kids, which is pretty great. And it plays little games and does little things, and it knows these little, like you can make it mad, and it will charge this it'll do a bullfight where it tries to hit the thing. It's cute. And this is its little charging stand. Okay. And it goes to sleep when it's tired and that kind of stuff. Pretty amazing for its simplicity. And considering, the other thing that's creepy, I'll show you in just a second. But considering this is what, you can only buy these, you can only buy 300 to 500, 300 to 499. They're $310 a piece. If you buy them, if you buy 1,000 of them, it's $290 each. So this is a big, you got to buy these in bulk because there's a supplier there. It's a proprietary thing. It was made in the United States, so you can't just buy them cheap. Although there's a knockoff version of it. This is the weird thing. This might be a must-have for the lonely fellas out there. Hello, lonely fellas. I see you. Not just the dog. Do you want that? Of course. It's this. It's the NS display for a ChatGPT-powered built-in digital companion lady. Hold on. I'm going to squeeze this down. I'm going to bring this down. Drag it to here. See this? I don't think there's a hole in the bottom of the container, but it looks like a blender with a lady in it. And this is so fucking weird. Okay, so it's a lady in a bottle. It's time for reading. I don't know what to read. Do you have a favorite genre? So it creates like a holographic image in this thing. My work today is rough. I'm sorry to hear that your work is challenging today. Is there anything specific you'd like to talk about? I'm here for you. And it's just a lady picture floating in a thing for $200. Now, granted, you can do that. I know what you're thinking. You can do that on a phone, but it wouldn't be this creepy. And so this is the lady in the jar. I dream of Jeannie. Yeah, that's what everybody in the chat room's saying. It's a little holographic display of a face, and it can show images that you're talking about. So this is why it shows a hornet here. If you ask it a question like, hey, what does that look like? It'll create a thing, like an image of it that you can look at. Yikes. So, needless to say, creep-tastic. And plenty where that left. And shall we check on the company that makes this thing? I'm a little worried. This is Lutair. What do they make? Well, they make I don't know what they make. They sell a bunch of stuff. There's the DJI Neo drone, the little cheap one. 3D Pulse EMS foot massager. They make a lot of self-pleasuring devices, it would seem. Oh dear. They sell these robots. They sell leg massagers. This is basically a lonely old guy. This is the store he would have a frequent buyer's card for. Scalp massager, headache eye massager, a relaxation and stress relief / head crushing device, a handheld fan, also known as a hair dryer. And this is their company, and this is their factory, which they're showing you. But you can, so you can get the dog from them. Minimum order for that is 1. You don't have to buy 1,500 like you do with the Luna. There we go. Boop. This one. Yeah. I replaced I have my little Snapchat drone that I use for Sexy Liberal and for Nerd Halen occasionally to get crowd shots and that kind of stuff. And it's a little worse for wear because I've been using the shit out of it. It still works great, but I picked up one of these because it was cheaper than that one. And it's an auto drone, much like that, where you can it lifts off from your hand. It will take pictures. It'll circle around you. It'll do a zoom in shot and a zoom out shot, stuff like that. For the fact that that's $200 is insane. And that's how much it was over here. It's not like the China Alibaba price. And you'll see a bunch of these things very soon, everywhere. This is what this is effectively what the Snapchat drone is like. It's got so if it bumps into you, it doesn't kill you. That's kind of crucial to an indoor drone, I think, personally. All right, I'll let you guys go. I know I went over time, and I got all nerded out with you, but the robots are coming. Just get used to the idea, and I will see you this afternoon when we continue our road down insanity into, I guess, building our little hut in Insanity Village because Donald Trump is losing his fucking mind. And I will show you more examples of that this afternoon. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. I know, it's Friday Eye. Look, you got to indulge me as a nerd and let me explain this stuff to you because, dear God, it will be on us before we know it. Also, there were some other questions we didn't. Can a 3D printer make an ink cartridge that doesn't run out? No. What impact will personalized LLM have over the years? It will be everything. You will have your own her that is your own kind of partner that you talk to, and it will become very normal. Think of it as Dr. Theopolis riding around your neck, and it will probably be in an earpiece you have in almost all the time. My son plays games that are open source, and they can change the code and see the impact, so they can learn to code while playing a game. That's brilliant, Spicy Dragon. And question, is there a capacity for LLMs to use entirety of information? I'd not... now, will they have, if not now, will they have the capacity once quantum computing is completed? The entirety of information, okay, they're always going to be limited by the amount of data they have because they already can use every written piece of information, every calculated piece of information, every written study and the details, but that doesn't mean they have all the data. They only have, let's say in a scientific data study, they only have the data taken and collected during that study, which is very wanting currently. So when an LLM in the future will look at a medical study for a drug, they will not just look at what you check off. Are you feeling nauseous or whatever? They'll have sensors on someone that will tell them whether nausea is coming on. So you don't have to trust the person's attitude where they're like, nah, it's fine, when they really are nauseous, but they don't realize that it's something they should report, those kind of things. Those never make it into the studies that we see. And that detail would be very useful in making drugs more useful and making them safer and all that kind of stuff, right? So the more data you have, the more accurate your like scientific studies will be, and therefore the drugs you create or the proteins you create or the antivirals you create or the antibacterials you create will be. And that's where, let's see, AI virus discovery. Let's see what this is. Because there's a, yeah. This would be it. I'll end on this. People often ask, like, why am I going to talk to a thing? And will it take my job? And blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's a consideration, and we will absolutely, certain jobs will be lost to it faster than others. Most of them will be mid-level white-collar jobs, like being a tax accountant, shit like that, right? Because you can't possibly, as a human being, keep up with all the myriad elements of the tax code the way a computer program could. And if it can adapt to it and present you with that advice and somebody could look over it, you're going to be fine. And then eventually nobody will have to look over it. It'll be fine. And if you have an issue with it, you can go, hey, I had it done by AI. So if there's any mistakes, let me know. As opposed to, you tried to cheat on your taxes, right? Which you could do with a person, because there's no way of knowing. If you use the software will go, yeah, that was a mistake, we'll fix it. So that's a good thing. But this is the thing it's going to be used for a lot. Scientists just discovered over 70,000 bizarre new viruses with AI. And with that, they will be able to, if necessary, and that's the other thing, create an antiviral specific to that disease. mRNA vaccines for specific diseases to wipe them out before they become a problem. And that you would be able to print this virus at a viral center nearby so that if there is something spreading and you're worried about it and it is spreading to your area, you can go and get the vaccine for it that's specific to the strain that's in your area and kill the spread of it during that time. And so it doesn't, again, fill up the hospitals and waste everybody's time. So pretty great. The other thing, too, we'll see if I can type this in. Hold on one second. I know I said one more thing, but I really do mean it. Robot laser pesticide. Yeah, here you go. This is the other thing. Anybody out there worried about pesticides? Anybody in the chat room, you concerned about the impact of pesticides on your system, that kind of stuff? If you've been watching you've been listening to the, what's his name? The fucking, hold on, why is this not shrinking down? Go ahead here. Okay, I'll show you this. because it's not, it's not a bad thing to be concerned about. Most of the time it's okay, but, could be an issue. Self-driving farm robot uses lasers to kill 100,000 weeds an hour, saving land, farmers from toxic herbicides. Instead of using an herbicide to kill a plant, it simply scans over top.
The last time you
Hold on, let me put this in here, and we'll show this in here, and I'll scroll through. Yeah, here it is. So this is currently how it's done. So you got you'll spray these things and drops herbicide on it. It's a terrible, terrible thing, and it kills stuff and is bad and blah blah blah. Health impact on food quality. Okay, here you go. Robots with lasers. So now let's see if they throw the. There you go. This should be the image of how it works. There you go. So what this thing does is it literally rolls along and it can tell what plants it wants to keep. It identifies invasive weeds versus the actual plants by their leaves, by their stalk, all that kind of stuff. And see that? See it literally lasering the weeds and leaving the other plants alone? That in and of itself is a huge, enormous step forward for health and safety. For not just us, but animals and insects. Because one of the things that herbicides, the downside of herbicides and other stuff have been, is that in some cases it kills bees and the other pollinating bugs. And so by not using them, never mind the impacts that it might show up in our food, you replace crop dusting and dropping toxins on stuff to kill all the weeds specific to it and trying to design these like neurotoxins that kill specific weeds. You love weeding, it's your Zen time. Well, Lisa, yes, on a personal garden, not a problem. You're not going to have a weeding robot in your personal garden. You're not going to need one. But on a big agricultural scale, let's see. So and the idea is that they will be solar powered. Just saying. So solar powered, no pesticides. And they will laser. Here it is. This is the Carbon Robotics Autonomous Laser Weeder. Open image in a new tab, and then I'll blow it up. There we go. And this guy. That guy. And that's an early version of it. It doesn't need, by the way, it doesn't ever need to look cooler. It doesn't ever need to improve. It doesn't need, it'll get smaller and faster and lighter and all that shit. But it will not need to, because it's an industrial use thing. It doesn't have to look particularly pretty. It can look like a tractor as far as anybody's concerned. But this thing will roll through the fields and laser away any weeds and bugs, by the way. It can do that with bugs as well. If there's tobacco worms or a big problem with tobacco crops, not that that's what we give a shit about, but you know what I'm talking about. Like there are weevils and that kind of stuff that are, boll weevils that will eat away at a plant or whatever. So it can I suppose do those as well. It would be less necessary, but it certainly can get rid of the weeds, which eat up the resources, the water and the fertilizer around them. So it's the weeding Mandalorian. This is the way, right? So I'm just saying, this is where a lot of this stuff is going. And here's a good example of an AI driven robot that an LLM based. It's not technically an LLM. It's a deep learning robot that is not going to take a human's job. There is no human job. Right? What this is doing is removing a pollutant from our environment. So that's you're going to see a lot more of that than you're going to see people, than robot servers, for example. You'll see those, but not as fast. Like most of the stuff will be jobs humans don't do, but can be done more efficiently, rather, mechanically if something can be done mechanically instead of chemically, that would be one of the areas where you could replace it with a robot. So really incredible and a great thing. And I don't want people to be afraid of it, but I do want you guys. So between now and next week, you got homework. ChatGPT is free. You don't have to sign up for the professional version of it. Or you can also go to Claude, or Copilot is on your Bing browser. If you use Microsoft Explorer, it's built in. You could just go to ChatGPT, and the cheap version is amazing, so it doesn't matter. But just go in there and say something to it. Go, hi, well, I do this for a living. What could you help me with? And it will give you a list. I can help you do this. I can help you do that. Or you go, I have a project that I want to do. What would be the first 5 steps to doing it? That kind of stuff. Just give it a try. And I want to hear back from you guys. Rob and I will ask you guys next week. Okay? That'll be the deal. Homework? The hell? Come on, man. What the hell? This the hell.